Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I'll be trying out one of the sexiest looking and I believe one of the finest sounding USB dongles out there that was able to drive several planar magnetic headphones and a few high impedance dynamic headphones. Of course, I'm about the latest Shanling UA5. That's a little pricier to the usual dongles, but I'm pretty sure there's a strong reason behind that, so let's check it out. As you can clearly see, it's slightly bigger to the usual USB dongles. So here's a small comparison versus their own UA2 dongle. It's roughly 2 times thicker and volume-wise about 3 times bigger and heavier, but of course this is still very much portable. You can easily carry it around in your pocket. One of the biggest standouts is this metallic volume wheel. It's a stepped volume control, which I very much enjoy. And of course there's a 1.44-inch monochrome OLED screen that will be giving you access to its user interface, which is very easy to navigate. As you can see, this is a single piece of machined aluminum and it cannot get any better than this in terms of build quality. When it comes to inputs and outputs, I'm very glad seeing a 4.4mm balanced output because most of my cables are terminated with 4-pin XLR or 4.4mm, so I can use several of those cables. There's a regular 3.5mm single-ended output that can be also used as a digital coaxial output with a special adapter cable that you can get separately. And of course there's a USB Type-C port on its bottom, so you can connect it to your laptop, PC, Mac, smartphone, tablet, and so on. I'm excited the most about what's inside it because most of the magic comes from within. So we're looking at a fully balanced input to output device that uses 2 ES9038 Q2M mobile chips and 2 RT6863 op-amps from Rycore that was specifically designed for the ESS Sabre silicon, and that can provide about 100 milliamps each, which is quite a lot considering how small UA5 really is. It can pump about 210 milliwatts in 32 ohms via its balanced output, which might not sound like a lot, but it was enough for plenty of my headphones, including planar magnetics, including high impedance dynamic headphones like HD800S. I could never pass its 80%, volume-wise, power-wise, so there's definitely a lot of power on tap on this one. Last but not least, there's a companion app that is called a DAC Player that lets you adjust and control all its features, selecting a single or dual DAC mode, its gain, digital filter, channel balance, charging, and power supply mode. This is pretty much it, so let's check how it actually sounds. When it comes to sound quality compared to other brands coming out from China, I can certainly say that Shanling has a so-called house sound, or a sound signature that you can find in all their devices. So this one is reminding me quite a lot about the sound of M3X, about the sound of M6, M8 DAPs that are going with the same sound signature, sound tuning. So with UA5 I had a thicker bass output, a warmer and a smoother mid-range, and a more relaxed top octave. So it was a very easy to like, easy to enjoy sound signature. Something that I cannot say about many other USB dongles like BTR5 from Fire, for example. Probably the biggest standout for me is how well spread and how deep UA5 is sounding compared to other USB dongles that I tried before. So it definitely sounds like a bigger device altogether, and that feels a little weird saying this, but it's exactly how it sounds. It sounds more like a mid-class digital audio player, or maybe like a entry to mid-level desktop setup consisting of a DAC and of a headphone amplifier, so it doesn't sound tiny and small like it is. With headphones like HD800S, Kennerton Rogner, with my eyes closed, I could swear that it was trying to push all the sounds outside my head, something that was not happening with other dongles, smaller but more affordable ones as well, like UA1, UA2, BTR5, Helibeam 2, and others. I don't remember them all. So this one is definitely bigger sounding, except for that power output that it feels more powerful. It was also bigger sounding, quite airy, quite layered, something that I cannot say about my past experiences with USB dongles. After engaging high gain and that hybrid power mode that drains power from its internal battery, because this one has an internal battery, it was trying to impress not only with its cleanness and air travel, soundstage, and of course power, but also with dynamics, because clearly it was more impressive with bass-intensive music. So it has a thicker bass output even compared to some of their DAPs, and that was sometimes a little too much with something like Kenaton Rogner, Apos Caspian, but it was a chef's kiss with something like HD800S, because from a slightly V-shaped headphone, it transformed them into a more balanced, a more enjoyable mid-centric headphone that was very apparent from the start. While on paper it provides just a little bit more power compared to their UA2, in reality it provides higher quality power because there is more current delivery, so it can better control the drivers of your headphones, especially of harder to drive headphones like planar magnetics, like high impedance dynamic headphones. So with bass intensive music like Daft Punk, Infected Mushroom, Noisia, The Prodigy, this one was out of place, it was running out of breath, it was not sustaining those 20 Hz notes, it was not that deep reaching, it was quite claustrophobic, strained. I didn't enjoy the sound of this one with electronica tunes, especially with hard to drive planars, but it was a child's play with UA5, so it's not only more power on top, but higher quality power with this one. Another standout, which I didn't expect actually, was how clean, how transparent, and how detailed it sounded, even compared to pricier digital audio players. So their smaller UA5 was already clearer sounding compared to my smartphone, that mind you has a high resolution DAC inside, but the gap between my phone and this one is even bigger, making my phone pretty much muddy and foggy sounding by comparison. So if you want to squeeze maximum performance out of this one, just enable that dual DAC mode and that hybrid power system. That will be squeezing maximum performance, just a little bit more resolution, just a little bit more air in between the notes. So in my opinion, this is not an above average detailed retrieval. This is not something like that. It's much higher than that. It sounds more like a well-made desktop DAC, like a mid-level digital audio player. So in my opinion, it's very impressive in here. It's quite detailed, quite transparent sounding. It was not as clinical sounding as FiOS BTR5, as there was a more relaxed top-end delivery with the Shanling unit. I have a love-hate relationship with these IEMs. These are FiOS FH9, which are very, very impressive. So very fast sounding, clean sounding, ultra revealing, big sound stage, everything is really nice, but they can be a little bright sounding. They have a high ringing in the treble, quite metallic sounding in there. I personally don't enjoy them with their flagship M17 DAP and also with M11 Plus ESS version. But pair them with something like Shanling UA5 and it's a very different IEM altogether. So that mid-range is pushed a little forward, that treble is tamed, so they are transforming into much nicer sounding IEMs. Better sounding compared to that M17 DAP that is considerably more expensive than this one. So in the end, this is a very easy to like tonality, very rich, full-bodied type of tonality, which is very obvious on the UA5. Actually, there isn't a headphone that didn't glue together with the UA5 richer tonality. There is definitely a bolder and a thicker bass output, something that I cannot say about many other USB dongles that I've tried in the past. So if you love your bass, deep reaching, impactful, but also clean sounding, I don't believe you can get anything better than this when it comes to USB dongles. It's very impressive in the bass. Its mid-range is pushed a little forward compared to the UA2 and a little bit more compared to BTR5, which shouldn't come as a surprise because most Shanling devices are mid-centric and most of them are really legendary sounding in this department. They all have a really nice mid-range. Shanling are actually selling several desktop components locally in China, like Class A amplifiers, like hybrid amplifiers, and I can definitely feel their DNA, their roots while listening to this one, because it's also mid-centric. So vocal performance is quite powerful. You can feel it pushed forward a little bit, so you hear that vocals a little more contoured, you'll hear that bass, and then you'll hear everything else. So when Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Dire Straits started playing, those HD800, which are slightly V-shaped, became just denser, fuller bodied, richer sounding, more fleshed out, more balanced sounding in a way. I know that it was designed mostly with IEMs in mind, for portable over-ear headphones, but I really enjoyed my time with something like HD800S, with Kennerton Rognir that were bassier sounding to my usual setup, so it was colorful but very fun sounding nonetheless. So if you are searching for a very extended, almost clinical, sharp sounding treble, you will not find it here. On the contrary, it's slightly more relaxed. So you can listen to, bright sounding headphones, slightly metallic sounding headphones like this one all day long. HD800S, many other with high amps. That was really an amazing pairing with something like this. So I believe that its treble is just clean, detailed, but never sharp, bright or just clinical sounding. Power-wise, even on low gain, it could easily drive all my IEMs over-ear headphones, a few desktop headphones like Apos Caspian, RZH Mania, Kennerton Magni, Valley, Galarhorn, and a few others. And there was always a substantial amount of power / headroom remaining on top. Even with DSD and high-resolution files, there was plenty of volume for, higher dynamics. On high gain, it easily drove most of my planars, but not all of them, with the exception of Odyssey LCD4, Hi-Fi Susvara, Abyss 1266. Everything else worked really, really nice, and maximum I could go was around 80 out of 100, so again, leaving plenty of headroom for some demanding tracks. In this regard, UA5 worked as a grown-up DAP that should cost at least 2 to 3 times its price. That's why I see it mostly as a DAP killer. I personally don't mind carrying with me a portable DAP exclusively for music listening on the go, but if you cannot stand the small screens, slow loading times, small battery life, then UA5 can work as a really nice alternative, just delivering similar performance without stealing a lot of pocket space and without damaging your wallet too much. It's almost pointless discussing about noise floor with such a unit, because regardless of that gain, regardless of volume position, it simply was dead silent with all my IEMs and portable headphones, sensitive desktop headphones, and that's pretty much everything that you need to know about it. It sounded just a little more transparent and a little more relaxed when draining power from its internal battery, but apart from that, I couldn't spot a change in terms of noise floor with or without that hybrid power mode engaged. It's an IEM-friendly unit, so you can power your entire headphone collection without worrying too much about that noise floor. With my PC, it worked driverless, so I didn't install anything, and those streaming apps as Tidal and Qobuz worked by default. And of course, my smartphone worked exactly the same, so you can use it anywhere really as a plug-and-play device without installing anything really. In a nutshell, you are looking at the best sounding and probably the nicest looking USB dongle that I've tried up to this point. I tried really hard finding some cons, some limitations in terms of sound performance, and apart from lacking a hardware equalizer in its companion app, I simply cannot fault its audio performance in any way. So there's no noise with IEMs, there's enough power with desktop headphones, and of course, it's almost impossible disliking its natural, its musical sound signature. I'll be heading over to Munich High-End Show in about 2 weeks, and I hope I'll meet you there. And you can already guess which device I'll be carrying with me. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed my review. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as usual, listen to more tunes. Be positive, and I'll see you around. Cheers!